what loneliness can do. Since I've been away, I have loved you more each day, walking back to happiness. Oh, yeah.
Walking Back to Happiness was never a song Helen Shapiro much liked. Yet in 1961, it hit the top of the charts and made her the most famous girl teenager in Britain. 30 years on, after a life of ups and downs, Helen Shapiro has lately discovered a new kind of happiness. She believes that Jesus is the Messiah, but she calls herself not a Christian, but a Messianic Jew.
At first glance, this looks like lively evangelical Christian worship, and in some ways it is. But there's one key difference. All the people worshipping here are Jewish. So, are they Jews or Christians? What exactly do they believe? What has led them to risk being branded by other Jews as traitors? And what has led Helen Shapiro to make this choice?
There are people who go about, who are anti-Messianic Jews, saying that, oh, Helen Shapiro, well, she's been led, you know, she's been trained, she's been talked into, she's been brainwashed by the missionaries or whatever. She's like empty-headed, really. She doesn't know anything from herself. I have to say here and now that there was nobody talking into me, nobody brainwashing me, nobody doing anything. This was all going on just between me and God.
Helen Shapiro was born in Bethnal Green in London's East End. Her parents worked in a clothing factory and were the children of Russian Jewish immigrants. Helen and her older brother Ronnie lived with them in a council flat in Hackney. The family, though very Jewish culturally, was not ultra-religious. As for Jesus, he hardly featured in their lives at all.
I first heard the name of Jesus in the school playground when I was about 6 years old. Being brought up, obviously, traditionally Jewish, I only knew about the Bible that we knew, so I'd never heard that name before. And it just happened this day, a little girl whom I knew, same age as me, came running up to me looking obviously distressed and just screamed at me, "You killed Jesus Christ." And having not heard this name before, and of course knowing I was innocent, I was naturally upset.
But at 13, Helen was interested not in Jesus, but in pop music.
I was only interested in being on stage, in meeting the stars, in singing, in music, in being famous, and just enjoying all of that was going on.
Her extraordinary vocal power brought her to the attention of Norrie Paramore, the record producer who had already successfully promoted Cliff Richard.
She was the one and only here who was that sort of age and that huge. I mean, her records were massive. She made a lot of fantastic records, and yeah, I don't know if people remember that, but she really was quite the beginning of things for girl singers in this country, I'd have thought, of the pop rock era. I couldn't believe that someone who was 14 could sing like that, because there I was at 18 and my voice was weaker than hers. I mean, it still is.
Cliff Richard, declared show business personality of 1961. 3 wonderful young ones with millions of fans. Youth has told opportunity, no need to knock.
I remember us having dinner together with Norrie Paramore at the Lotus House, a very famous Chinese restaurant in those days. And she was just a very nice schoolgirl, I mean, who didn't seem to know what had quite happened to her and was very excited about it all. And what thrilled me, she seemed to be excited to meet me, you know, because I was so much older than her at 18 or 19 or whatever it was. And so my first impression of her was just this lucky schoolgirl who seemed to be thrilled that everything was happening around her, but who just seemed to be genuinely nice.
At that age, there's this supreme self-confidence that overcomes everything, born out of ignorance, of course. I wasn't aware of the pitfalls of whatever could go wrong. So I just sailed through everything. Everything and everybody was wonderful.
Walking back to happiness I shared with you. Making up for things I said, oh, yeah.
aware of the pressure that indeed was upon me at the time. I couldn't cope with it now.
Really?
No, well, I think the older you get, the harder it gets.
The more famous she became, the more the public wanted to know. Local children took to hovering excitedly round the Shapiro's East End flat, on the lookout for signed photographs to distribute as booty at school.
Whenever there was a new song in the chart, or if ever a name come up somewhere and whatever else, it was something to brag about to the other kids, so that was great. And we wouldn't tell them exactly where she lived. We used to just say we'd bring photos in the next day, so that's what we used to do.
Did you ever see Helen herself?
Not that I can remember, thinking back on it, I suppose we only ever saw her once, and that was only a glimpse of the curtain sort of thing. It was always her mother, because that was the main thing of going, really. We didn't just want the photographs, we wanted to actually see her and sort of say, oh, yes, she does actually live there.
But in 1963, after several hits, Helen's star began to fade. Interest was shifting to the Beatles. One music paper asked, is Helen a has-been at 16?
I was this schoolgirl singer with this voice, and I was growing up. And when sort of child or teenage prodigies, if you like, I mean, I'm not saying I was one of those, I can't think of the word, grow up, they become the same as everybody else, basically, and the novelty wore off, I guess.
Her personal life, too, hit a bad patch. Her first marriage failed, then her second. Press reports highlighted money problems as well. When her second husband's fashion business collapsed, Helen had to sell her 2 homes. It was back to mum.
I thought it was very much a shame that people were getting such a negative image of me, that the press only seemed to be interested at one time in these sort of negative things, such as marriages going wrong and financial problems and that kind of thing, and never in any of the good stuff.
And there was good stuff. Shows, cabaret, musicals, pantos. But she longed for a major comeback. The more elusive it seemed, the more important her career became to her.
Above everything, I was concerned with showing them that I was valid today as a singer. I wasn't just some relic from the past. That I was progressing musically, and that I was this and I was that. And the important thing to me was like to be in the next big hit show. I had to show them, that was my thing.
But was this really all life had to offer? For some years she'd been casting around spiritually for something to make better sense of it. She still kept some remnants of belief.
Later on, in this 60s and 70s period, that belief in God as God of the Bible tended to be somewhat diffused into something more of a supreme force out there, this sort of New Age concept. And I used to read books on spiritism and psychic phenomena, and to a lesser extent, astrology.
How did the key change come about?
When I turned 40, which, I mean, I had been led to expect horror stories, you know, about being 40. I thought I got through being 40 pretty well unscathed, actually. But soon after that, I found that all these things that I believed in, all these isms, if you like, crumbled. I found I didn't believe them anymore. I found, it was very odd, really. I couldn't explain it then. I can explain it now, looking back. But it was like I woke up one morning and I just didn't believe any of it. I can only liken it to a picture of an idol or a statue crumbling. And I tell you, that got me down somewhat. I thought, I don't believe in all that stuff. Does that mean that doesn't exist? And because I associated all these isms and spiritism and all of that with God, I suppose I reckon, well, there's no God.
Helen's